This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
Ampire.
Hello, babies. Hello, babies. Hello, babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Greatest season ever. What's up, everybody? How we doing today?
Both you and our voices are a little fried today.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's doing better than I thought it would, honestly. Because, every game's got to be a heart attack, and every game has to have 58 highlights in it. I got to get there for the big moments, and the big moments are every other 3 minutes. We have some crazy thing happen. But this has been fun. What a fun ride. And that was like, there was a part of me that was like, I've never had this before. I had no doubt that dude was going to miss that field goal at the end of the game. Just no doubt. And I wasn't even worried about it. This is just kind of the way our season's gone. I'm like, there's no way Riley Patterson, I saw him all summer. He's shanking it left and right. There's no way we're losing to that guy at the end. From 56, no way. From 35, problem. 56, no way.
With my journey to the game yesterday, because I had to produce the caps, I was watching the game in the Uber from Friendship Heights to Landover, and Tirico was already on Patterson on the first field goal attempt I think they had, and he was like, this guy was terrible in warmups. I was like, damn, Tirico, you didn't even hold back with this guy. But yeah, absolutely, I'm with you. I did not think he would, but I did think if we lose on a call like that, which questionable. If we lose on that call, then I was going to be very pissed because they don't deserve to lose that way. So
we've seen every average kicker available in the NFL this year come through here for the last 8 months, but he stands out to me by a lot because he was the one in camp missing field goals every day, often.
Got it.
That guy, I looked at, I go, there's no way. From 35, sure. From 56, no way. I couldn't believe Penix found Pitts on a 4th and goal. That one surprised because when they had the snap over the head of Bijan, I went, oh my God, we're going to win because they screwed up.
Right.
I couldn't believe they scored there. So golf clap Michael Penix for pulling his first Jaden Daniels, because you don't deserve to lose when you do things like that. That was pretty amazing.
I will say this, if you're a Falcons fan, seeing just a little bit of him, he's the truth. The throws he was making, granted, he looked like a rookie, but the throws he was making were pretty crazy. And then especially late in the game, the way he was going. He was scary by the end. I was a little scared of him.
I want to talk about us, but I do want to mention one thing about him. And it's just the one thing. I actually talked to Mike Tirico last night before the game for our pregame show. And I said this on the air to our guys, London and Logan, and because Logan and we're both like, this guy's really good, and we this is what's different about this game. And I agree. I went and saw him last year playing college. He is really good. But the really risky thing to do at this juncture of the season is to put anybody in who hasn't played. Yep. And I think where it showed actually was in the long balls, because they couldn't hit a long pass. He knew where to put the ball. It wasn't in harm's way. They just haven't played enough to have connections that way. And every shot they took was off. And honestly, there was one to Bijan Robinson that could have been a touchdown. There was another down the sideline to Kyle Pitts that Jeremy Chin broke up that Logan literally yelled out, couldn't help himself, and went, oh no, when he threw the ball, because he thought for sure, Chin on Pitts is a really bad matchup, but the ball just wasn't quite there. So I agree. I see the promise of it. This is the risky part of putting him in there now and expecting him to save you when he's never played before, because it doesn't matter what his promise is. He hasn't been the quarterback with these receivers all year, and I think that's where it actually showed and was helpful for Washington last night.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think they would have had more of a shot with Kirk last night either, though. So I
don't think so either. After seeing it, I agree with you. I don't think so. Yeah. So,
exactly.
All right, let's get to us. So, wow. This is season for the ages. And over the last 2 weeks, again, like Atlanta could be a playoff team. We'll see if they are or not. They have to win this week and now hope. Philadelphia clearly is. They're the only team, Washington's the only team to beat them in the last almost 3 months now. And yesterday, if you're wondering if they were going to unravel, you're going to be sorely disappointed about the way that they played yesterday. So over the last couple of weeks, and as beat up as they are, and I'll get into that in a minute, because that's the part about all of this where I don't want the joyride to end, but boy, they're running out of gas and people, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I haven't seen a team where this uniform be this resilient in a long time. I'd probably go back to the Gibbs teams.
Yep.
I think it's the Gibbs teams. Like, I guess the RG3 year, I'd have to talk to people about that particular year, but the Gibbs teams had this. The Gibbs teams had the very strong late December resolve. The veterans would stand up and lead. And when they just needed something to happen, it was there because they were together, connected, the chemistry. So they're super smart, the whole thing. And I haven't seen it like this in a while. So what I think is really interesting, and this is what came to me really this morning, waking up, and I barely slept because, I was so wired after this. I don't know what time I actually fell asleep. I got actually getting out of there because, we're in the postgame locker room. I wasn't getting back home, actually wasn't that bad. It probably was for everybody else. It was probably terrible to try to get out of there. Because we did the postgame shows. I was there for an hour at least after the game. It wasn't bad for me getting home. So I actually breezed home. I couldn't sleep though. I literally couldn't fall asleep. And I don't even know how much I slept last night. And I lost my train of thought because I can't think anymore. But this is what kind of came to me this morning. Like at the beginning of the year, like, you don't know what's going to happen. It's a new group and there's all this promise and everything is, really exciting. And the Cincinnati game and then a couple of the others, to back it up with Arizona, the Hail Mary, like it was one of those things where I kind of felt happy for us as the fan base. Like, one, is this real? And two, like, I'm just happy for us. Like, we've just waited so long to have something like this go on. And now that we're here, especially over the last couple of weeks, I'm like happy for them, genuinely, not just us, but them. Like, I see what they've put into the season. They deserve the wins. They're all crazy in their own weird way. We ought to enjoy this because I said this. I remember saying this about the Nationals when they won the World Series. I go, they may win another World Series, but it'll never be like this. Washington will, I hope, go to the playoffs again. And who knows what this season's going to be. It's never going to be like this again. Every week, they're in these crazy dogfights that could go either way, and they're winning the majority of them. Like they've been in like 8 games that are 6 points or less. They've only lost one of them. They could have lost to Atlanta last night. They could have lost to New Orleans. They could have lost to Philadelphia. They could have lost to the Bears. Like, any of those games could have gone the wrong way. And I actually just feel I'm happy for them. Like, I've seen what they put into it, all the dedication, all of the things that they said, like the Quinn Priest was going to happen, has totally come true, but it doesn't guarantee results, and they're getting them. And I'm rooting not just for us to have a joyride, because I think we've been owed one for 30 years, but for them because of what they put into it. Like, they're super smart and they're fighting their guts out. And it's really, that locker room was amazing last night to be part of that.
To your point, the jubilation from being in the stadium last night was all of those frustrations coming out, because I keep saying this to people that are saying like, oh, it's the best season since 2012. And, having fun game to game, sure. But if ball, you knew 2012 was kind of going to be a flash in the pan with the way RG3 was playing, with the ownership. Like, you just kind of knew it wasn't sustainable with him. And then you look at this guy and this coaching staff and this front office and this owner, and you just know that if it falls apart, it's going to fall apart for a legitimate reason, not because of ownership putting the quarterback on a pedestal or that quarterback deciding he's not going to run anymore when it's the main part of the offense, or meddling in personnel or whatever. That's where I think it was coming out last night, where it just feels like, and I have this discussion all the time with my friend Ben Raby. We always talk about the first time a new generation in a franchise makes it. There's really nothing like it, because you just know it's the beginning of something. You go to the Nats in 2012 when they first got good with Bryce Harper and Strasburg, and that lasted 7 years, and finally they got a World Series. You go to Ovechkin literally 20 years ago when he makes it in 2007, and it's you feel a little invincible the first time around, but you also know this is just the tip of the iceberg with this crew, because now you know you can build around them. This is what this feels like. And I think the craziest part is they won 11 games. And by the way, they play another game next week. Not that it matters really, but I mean, they can win the 6th seed. We'll get to that. But the fact is there's still a week to go. The ride is already so fun, and it's just the beginning of this. And this is where rooting for a team and a franchise is just the best. And we've earned this good of a ride with this franchise, those of us that have stuck around this whole time.
I think we've earned it for sure. Like, this fan base has earned to have a great moment. And I agree with you. I've been saying this all year. I thought Fred Smoot said it. He was like, this is ground zero. And I don't know what and to be perfectly blunt, like, I think we can all recognize this is an incomplete roster. Like, 100%. They don't have the Eagles roster. So wait until Adam Peters gets another offseason or two underneath him and puts more talent around the group. And if they can continue to build on what is the baseline of what this locker room and the organization is going to be about, then it is sky's the limit. And I do feel like, we're at the beginning of, I'm hoping we are Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, pick the team you like that is consistently in the playoffs every single year, vying for championships. We could be that. And it's been a long time since it's been that way, but it feels completely sustainable. The atmosphere in and around the team is entirely different from what it used to be. It should be. I mean, it is entirely different. There is kind of a goodwill vibe that's going on in and around the team. And they also have Superman playing quarterback for them. And this is now, someone sent this to me, or I saw some clip, and I was trying to remember which ones are they. He's thrown a touchdown pass in the final 30 seconds or overtime of a game in 5 games this year. That's an utterly absurd stat. Like, no one else has done that. Like, it's an utterly literal, it's yet again, Peyton Manning didn't do that. Tom Brady didn't do that. Like, Joe Namath didn't do that. John Elway didn't do that. Like, every week they're doing these things. It was really funny because the crowd started chanting MVP at him at the end of the game. And I just blurted out on the air. I go, he deserves that. And London very quickly goes, he's our MVP. And I tried, like, the conversation moved away, but I really wanted to have it on the airwaves last night to go, I know he's not going to win it, but if you're telling me that what you've seen this year, that he doesn't deserve to be part of that conversation, you are not paying attention. This guy, especially the last 2 weeks, literally put on the cape and literally willed them to win games and did things with his legs that no quarterback should be asked to do. And he did it. They lost their 2 right tackles. They lost their center. Terry was not healthy. That was obvious last night. And they won anyway against a team that had everything on the line. Again, down 10 at halftime. They did it the week before with all the turnovers. Penalties came back. This guy has a will to win and the talent to pull it off, and the clutch gene like I haven't seen. He is the perfect combination of everything you can ask for in your star quarterback. And I was glad the fans did that. He deserves to hear that because he deserves to be part of it. I know he's not going to get it, but he completely, literally deserves to be part of that conversation.
The best part about last night was near the end of the 3rd quarter, into the 4th quarter, where you could tell he was going full, it's on me. Like, I'm going to have the ball in my hands to come back and win this game, tie this game, then win this game. And look at that last drive. I think almost every single play was either a run for him or a passing play. I think they only ran the ball a couple of times when they got closer to the end zone, when they were kind of grinding the clock out a little bit. And the second part is, I'm not taking it for granted. Everyone in that stadium, I know the last drive of regulation sucked for them, but I've never seen a stadium that has been so like, oh, you gave us too much time. Like, already that they know when you give him the ball that you are basically waiting for the Grim Reaper to take you down. And then when they
won, I thought for sure he was going to win. I thought for sure.
So did I.
When they got the ball back tied with whatever time was left on the clock, I'm like, oh, you messed up.
Yes.
Like I was convinced of it, that he was going to walk down the field and they were going to win.
Me too. And a penalty screwed it up, and that happens. But then once he got the ball back again, I was like, this guy's not missing twice. Like, I mean, that's just how good he has been. And I am never taking that for granted, because we've been waiting for that for literally our entire lives. We've never had a quarterback like that. And so when they got the ball back in overtime, I was just like, they're going to drive this thing down the field. Now, I did not see like an 8+ minute drive happening in overtime, which was awesome. But that's just like, honestly, it's one of the best feelings in the world to have a quarterback like that you have the confidence in. And once again, for your MVP conversation, he's throwing to Zacchaeus and Zach Ertz, and I mean, not to take like a ton away from those guys, but like, it's not a normal NFL offense.
It's not who Sam Darnold's throwing to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not.
Yeah.
You know, oh man, I don't think you weren't in the stadium yet when he got bent over backwards.
Yeah, I was watching it in the Uber. Yeah, on the way to the stadium. Yeah,
let me tell you something, man. I was shook. The whole stadium was.
Yeah.
Like, and that feels like an eon ago because of everything else that happened afterwards.
Right.
But if he didn't pop back up immediately, I don't know, man. Like, that would have been literally the saddest thing I think I've ever seen in my life if his season ended that way, because it was that close. Like, he got bent the wrong way. It was that close. And I'm at the point of, protect this guy at all costs, because we've been waiting for him forever. And he's amazing, and he's a wonderful young man, like humble, nice. Like, I asked him in the postgame, I go, I can't help myself. I go, the last 2 weeks, at some point, did you feel like you had to take matters into your own hands? Because I know he doesn't want to answer that question, because he won't, because he will defer everything to the team and his teammates.
Right.
But it's so obvious that he's Superman the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, did you feel that way? And of course, he just totally kind of smiled and deferred it and was like, and the only thing he said about it was, you can't force things like that. And that's also his feel for the game. His feel for the game is astronomical, and hopefully it'll just continue to get better. There's no promises for what comes down the road, but I do feel like we have our Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, whoever you like. I think we have our guy. It's clear as day. And when he was bent over, I'll tell you one thing. One, I heard someone say, lucky they were on grass. I agree.
Yep.
Two, JC Bertrand, who's the guy who hit him, he let up on him.
He did. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that is, I'm so thankful to that dude, because had he hung on for a little bit longer or kept, I mean, I don't know if he did it on purpose or didn't, but that was an act of God, because had he held him differently, he would have tore his knee. His season would have been over, and we would be talking about, will he ever be the same? And thank God he was fine. He popped right back up. This reminded me once of in college, my friend Shaggy, yes, nicknamed for the Scooby-Doo character, once got run over by a car, okay? His leg, okay? We all saw it happen, and we all screamed, and he popped up, and he goes, I'm okay, right? And we couldn't believe it. And that's what Jaden Daniels pulled a Shaggy last night. And just because when that happened, I went, oh my God, he tore at least a knee ligament. The gasp in the stadium was audible. And then he just popped back up like nothing happened. And that was also grace of God that he was okay after that.
When that happened to Tirico and Collinsworth, both, like, they also acted like the crowd did, went a little quiet, and Collinsworth just went, thank goodness he's young. Like, when he popped up, because it looked like he was okay. Tirico was still like not ready to call it that he was okay. But for the both of them, I think they were looking at it the same way. And look, I mean, this fan base has been traumatized by what happened with RG3. I think everyone went right back to that the second it happened, because it was like, oh no, this can't end this way. So yeah, I'm glad he popped right up.
Let's talk about this week a little bit. The injuries are piling up. The offensive line's beat up. I haven't heard how bad Tyler Biadash's injury is. He got hit awkwardly, and he's been fighting through it all year anyway. Didn't come back. So we'll see. I know there's stuff on the line. I feel like there are things on the line. We'll go through it in a minute, but I don't want him to play this week. Like, let's get to the playoffs now. For anybody that is marginal let's get to the playoffs and let the chips fall where they may, whatever the seed is going to be. But that didn't look good. I didn't like that. And him not coming back was a bad sign to me. He should not play in Dallas, in my opinion. They didn't have Andrew Wiley. We'll have to see if he's available this weekend. Cornelius Lucas got hurt. Hopefully he's okay, because they were down to right tackle number 3. Brandon Coleman looks a little beat up to me, and I think the season's getting long on him. Terry McLaurin didn't look totally right last night. He missed some time earlier in the week, but he didn't look totally right. And that's a weird one, because he's a touchdown away from setting a franchise record. So there's part of me that wants him to do that. That said, I don't know whether, it's the right thing to do. I guess they'll have to make a decision on him. So we have to think about this differently. I mean, Quinn typically has been very safe with people, so it would suggest to me he will be, and that's not going to be an issue. But you're going to toggle the interesting part of you're in, but you can do a little bit better. He keeps talking about wanting to find different spaces to get to. They are very head down, not in the sand, but down with, don't at me with all the crazy great things that are going on. We're not done yet. We can talk about it after the year. They like doing that thing. Like last night I looked at him and I go, 11 wins hasn't happened here since 1991. It's 7 home runs has never happened in this stadium. You guys did it in year 1. You're in the playoffs. And he was really tried to push that off and go, we still have other places to go, and even made a point of, we're not playing our best right now, and we know it, and we can get better. So they don't want the standing ovation yet. They want that after the season, and I'm willing to play along with that, even though it's hard not to be giddy about what's going on and knowing the history to go, it has been a while since I felt this good, and I just wanted to tell you. It's like that kind of thing. And he's like, I know. Can you just stay with me here? Because I don't want the team to think they accomplished what we expect to accomplish yet, which I actually appreciate that mentality of, I know you all are really happy. We know you all are really happy. We are too, but we're not done yet. So don't start giving us the awards yet. We're not in award season. But this weekend's going to be interesting because they're in, but there is something to play for. And in my opinion, a better trip, than the one that they're currently, the one that they would be slated to basically go on if they lose this weekend, because they just throw all their backups out there. So I don't know how they're going to handle it, other than to think that they'll handle at least the people who have been marginal the whole time the same way they have the whole year, which is they'll hold anybody out if they don't think they can go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. They shouldn't be satisfied yet, because the expectations they put on themselves at the beginning of the year did set it into a different direction. You and I talk about it, a few times throughout the year, where they came out after that last preseason game and outright said, Quinn and Peter said, we expect to be a good team. And you remember my reaction to that was, there was no reason to put that pressure on this team. Well, 17 weeks later, there was a reason to put the pressure on the team, because the standard is completely different than it was, at the end of August into September. And heading into this game in Dallas, my guess is they're going to play who can play. I think they're going to treat this like any other game. I think they're going to treat this like a normal regular season game. I'm with you. I would hope they would hold some guys out, but I think they're going to treat it like a normal game. And so if Terry can go, I think you play him. If some of those linemen can go, you still play them. Maybe they make a decision here or there to rest a guy or two, but the difference between having to go to Philly against a division rival or go to the Rams, most likely, I don't know if they want to pick, but I also know they just want to win too. So my guess is they're going to treat it like any other game. I don't think they're going to look ahead.
So their whole thing is anybody, anywhere, anytime. So they're going to tell you publicly they don't care.
Right.
And they're not going to point out that they already beat Philadelphia. They're just going to point out, we'll play anybody. It's a little bit of the Dan Campbell with a different tone, because his was, I will get in a dumpster with you and fight you naked. Theirs is like, we're not scared. They're just basically like, we don't care, whatever it is. But, I'll say it. They don't need to say it. I would prefer them not to go to Philadelphia. Not because I don't think they could win that game. I do. They already beat them and didn't play well and beat them anyway. And we all know that they're unhinged. So anything starts going wrong, and who knows what's happening on that sideline. I don't want to go there because I think that's a menacing crowd, and I'm having a really fun year. And win or loss, I think that's an ugly scene. because if we finish their season, it's very possible that could happen. I don't like what's going to happen there. And if we don't, I hope my friends bring security with them because I think they're going to feel it too. So we're having a joyride here. I'd like to go to LA or Tampa Bay. And in the case of both of those stadiums, especially LA, I think we overrun it. If we actually get in and go there, SoFi will be 50-50 at best Rams and might be 60-70% Commanders. And that would be amazing. And I'd like to see it. So I'm hoping for a win, that not to avoid them, but just because I don't really feel the need to play them again right now. We hit them in a later round of the playoffs. Let's go. But I'm enjoying myself, and I'd like another shot at Tampa, honestly. And I'd like to see us in LA because a road game with that many people in burgundy and gold would be incredible to be a part of too.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm not exactly pining for Philly. I also, once again, think the matchup is bad too. I mean, Saquon's going to be Saquon, and it's a bad matchup. I will say this: Tampa, Baker's played great these last couple of weeks,
yes,
so I don't know if I want the smoke of that passing game either. So I would probably prefer the Rams because they're kind of just the most neutral party in all of this. And I'm with you. This fan base will take over that stadium if they get that, because you know how that town is. It's worse than this town when it comes to being events. And to them, a wild card game is not an event. For this fan base, it is, though. And they will absolutely make that trip out there, especially because of the West Coast contingent of fans, not even including the ones that are going to travel to go to SoFi. So I am pining for the Rams, mainly because I just want it to be a home field advantage out there. And I think we would absolutely take over that stadium.
I think a Tampa game could be really high scoring, like in the 30s, both sides. It could be really high scoring because remember, that was the one where Jaden just vacated the pocket constantly. And I think it would be different this time around. It was game one. Yeah, it was game one. LA, I don't really know. We'd have to kind of see. But listen, I'll take whatever we get. I'm happy we're here. And I'm with them on, I trust that they'll do anything. This week's just going to be interesting to see how they handle the roster. And I think they're going to be very careful with people. And they should be. Like, they are in. If somehow they lose to Dallas, they lose to Dallas. They're in anyway. I would prefer that they win, but I also don't want to risk people who are marginal before we get to the playoffs, because I do want to see how far they can take this. And so I want them to be as healthy as they possibly can. And on the offensive side of the ball, the injuries are piling up big time. So we just need to get through next week.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And that's what I'm saying, I guess, with the overall feeling heading into that Dallas game. I think they're going to treat it normally. But, we'll see. They've also, I will say this, when I say normally, I also mean having the injuries, treat them like normal injuries. They have not hesitated to leave guys out because they want them to be 100%. So it wouldn't shock me if some of the names that you mentioned, even with the 6 seed up for grabs, they decide to rest some of these guys because they actually have done that throughout the season.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll go through the rest of week 17 next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Bleacher Report. How do you follow sports? From college football to the NBA, Bleacher Report brings you the latest news, live scores, and epic highlights from your favorite leagues, teams, and athletes, all in one app. Dive into exclusive shows hosted by your favorite athletes and original Bleacher Report series with breaking news, rumors, and predictions all season long. Download Bleacher Report to personalize your coverage.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
All right, welcome back. Let's start with the ones that matter to us, and then we'll go through the rest of the Week 17 slate. But on Saturday, the Rams, who don't score a lot of points these days, did beat Arizona. Kyler had a crazy interception, which I'm sure tickled Cliff Kingsbury to death watching that happen. And now that they've won, and because of bizarre set of circumstances where if they got teams to win, including the Commanders at home, they now don't even have to win in Week 18. They clinched the NFC West. They are, as of now, our opponent in the playoffs. And if that's how many points they're going to score, I like our chances against them.
No, of course. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If I had an opponent preference, it's them. Just because I just think the talent level matches a little bit more. That's all.
Yeah, I think them defensively are young, new, still a little bit green. I trust McVay will scheme up stuff that's going to freak us out, and we're not going to be able to stop it. And Stafford's got great plays and great receivers. But if they're going to post 20 or under, we beat anybody, period.
Yep.
And SoFi will be burgundy and gold, and that'll be amazing. So that's what I'm rooting for. I feel like we've earned a mid-January Los Angeles vacation for a couple of days where if we win, then fine, I'll go to Detroit, or fine, I'll go to Philadelphia, whatever it may be after that.
Right, exactly.
Let's see. Eagles crushed the Cowboys, so dreams of them unraveling and handing us the NFC East go out the window. But 20th straight year, different team has won the NFC East. So chalk us up for next year as the NFC East champions, because it's one of three, and I like our chances over at least one of them, who stupidly gave up the number 1 overall pick yesterday, but whatever, that's on them. Anyway, the Eagles, boy, they look good in those Kelly Greens. They should wear those all the time. That's amazing. Cowboys kind of fell apart. Cooper Rush had a couple really bad turnovers, and it spiraled, and you just can't beat them if you get behind them. And then it's going to be interesting this week with them because they're locked. Will Saquon go for the record this weekend?
Right.
Because it's against the Giants, I feel like he kind of should, because I think it'd be hilarious. He's 101 away from doing it. I think you make a choice here. You either play him and go for it, or you don't play him at all. And I guess it's probably up to him or them. I would think, because this won't happen again, that he should go for it. And you know what? If he gets hurt, everybody looks really stupid. But I think for him, he has a chance at history. So I think you should go for it if I'm him, and let the chips fall where they may if you sprain your ankle or something like that. Hopefully nothing like that happens. I'm not rooting for anything like that. But I'd go for it, and I wouldn't sit him personally.
I wouldn't go for it. I sit him. The Eagles have bigger aspirations than breaking the single season rushing record. I'm sorry. And also, I'm going to be that guy here. They added an extra game, so somebody was going to break the record anyways. And so here we are. He's 101
2,000 is so hard to get to no matter what, you know?
I mean, I get that. But going for the actual record too, I don't know. I wouldn't risk it. I'm not about that life. And the Eagles are all squirrely anyways. If he does get nicked up and hurt, that fan base is going to lose their freaking minds on Sirianni and the rest of the crew there. So I wouldn't go for it personally. They're playing for literally nothing. I mean, here's the other part about this too. The Giants are bad enough that you could probably run the ball a bunch of times and get him 100 yards in the first half and then bench him.
Well, yeah, I think I would get the second he breaks it. If he breaks, I sit him. Like immediately, I sit him. Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, if he gets hurt, he's the linchpin in that entire offense. They've been able to rely on him the whole entire time.
I remember Peyton Manning, they had an undefeated team one year. Bill Polian rested all their starters at the end of the year, and they lost. And they didn't get it. And I'm like, but that's history. Like, what? You could go down in history. Like, I think you go for this personally. And if I'm, them, I do hope it happens early. You break some huge run and it happens. And then by the fourth quarter, minimum, you're sitting him. That's what I would do. I think you regret it later if you don't, because he's not going to have, he's great, but he's not going to have another 2,000-yard season. That's just not going to happen. So I would go for it personally. Right. And as for, as far as the Eagles go, they're fine now. Again, the Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb just had no offense whatsoever. And I'm hoping that's the case this weekend too. And Washington can, whoever they throw out on the field, just get a win, move on, be the 6th seed. And I hope that it's the case again. But for Philadelphia, that came right on time for them to play a marginalized team after what happened last week, because that they're like any moment from a psychotic break. And so that probably helped their psyche to feel good about themselves again.
What I will say is this with the Cowboys, though, if you watch the beginning of that game, the Cowboys drove the ball right down to start. And then that's when CJ Gardner-Johnson got the pick 6. And then the Cowboys drove right down again into the red zone. Yeah, and scored. And that was it for them for the day. But I did think it was a little suspect that they passed on that defense to start the game out. And then it just spiraled on them. I don't know. I kind of just bookmarked that one, because it was a little weird that they were marginalized, but Cooper Rush was moving the ball in that secondary again. And I know they ended up just blowing them out in the end, but I just thought it was interesting that without a lot of talent, they were still moving the ball on them a little bit.
This is not a conversation for today, but I was thinking about Jalen Hurts, and I'm concerned about his career, with the amount of head injuries and, couldn't get out of protocol this week.
Yep.
And, it's putting into context a little bit. He's made some odd late game decisions in some other games this year. I'm worried about him, genuinely worried about him. And I hope, I hope he's okay. And I hope he doesn't rush back too soon. And obviously he's not going to play this week. I don't know why you would put him out there this week, but hopefully he's going to be all right.
I will say this. Did you see the McKee ball situation with AJ Brown? Did you see that? What happened there?
Oh, where he chucked a ball into the crowd and they had to go. Big Dom had to go get it.
Big Dom had to go in the crowd.
Main character in the story had to go get it. Yeah,
I thought that was funny. And then shout out to the fan that was like, "Give me your jersey." And I was like, "Good, fast negotiation on that one to get AJ Brown's jersey." I thought that was.
You know what Big Dom is? Big Dom is. If Nick Sirianni is the Jerry Springer show, he's the security guy on the Springer show who got his own show.
Yeah, what was his name? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember either.
But yeah, he did get his own show. Yeah,
he's the security guy who got his own show. He was the guy who came out and kept the people who found out that they were having sex with each other's girlfriends and having kids with each other's girlfriends. He's the one who had to come up and keep them separated, and then he got his own show. That's Big Dom.
Can't believe this is buried in my brain. Steve Wilkos.
Yes.
Buried in the brain somewhere up there.
Yep. And Sirianni is an unhinged Jerry Springer. That's what he is.
There you go.
Let's see. Buccaneers rout the Pantheros. So dreams of them pulling that off and just letting us clinch are over, but doesn't matter. We won anyway. So all's well that ends well. And to your point about Baker earlier, killing it. Yep. I said this from the get-go. I trust them. Baker's good for them. If I'm the Vikings, we're going to get to them now. All this argument about whether I would bring Sam Darnold back, what are you talking about? Have you watched him play on this team? Deal with JJ McCarthy down the road.
Yeah.
Give this guy a 2-3 year contract at whatever the number is. And if McCarthy ends up playing somewhere else down the road, who cares? Why in the world would you think about moving on from him? That's crazy to me, the way he's playing for them this year.
No, I couldn't agree more. You deal with McCarthy later. You deal with Darnold now. And if Darnold ends up turning into a pumpkin, like all of us keep kind of thinking, but we haven't seen it yet.
Guess who's on the bench?
Guess who's on the bench. Yeah, exactly right. But I'm also kind of against that now too. I've seen enough of it. He's done it for a whole season. He clearly likes this offense, this whatever the McVay, Shanahan, KOC, LaFleur offense is, he's completely fine in it. So, yeah, I think Darnold, you have to try to re-sign him. And look at who he's throwing to. I think you absolutely 100% try to re-sign him.
100%. I don't even think it's I don't even know why people keep saying, well, they're going to let him go. So you get money. Why? Have you looked at their record? Have you seen how he's played? Why would you move on from him? You don't have to hand it over to J.J. McCarthy. What are you talking about? So what? You drafted him. He's on your bench. Who cares?
They're hanging around to be the 1 seed in that division, too. The Lions are one of the best teams in football, if not the best offensive team in football. And then Green Bay is no slouch either. Once Love got healthy, he's an MVP candidate again in the second half, essentially. So the fact that they are hanging around with Darnold at quarterback, don't mess that up. Just don't mess that up.
Lions-Niners tonight. It doesn't matter because Detroit, all they have to do is beat Minnesota next week, win or lose tonight, and they would win the division. It is going to be a steel cage match because winner gets the 1 seed, loser gets the 5 seed. I've been complaining about this for years, and if it's not obvious now, it never will be. They've got to change the seedings. There's going to be a 14-win 5 seed. I know that may never happen again, but it just did, and that's stupid. They're going to play a team that has 5 less wins than them on their home field.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's completely not fair. So they just need to reseed. It's not that hard. Just reseed it. If you win your division, you're in, but it doesn't guarantee you a home game. We're going to reseed you by record or conference record, however you want to do it, but it shouldn't be this way. It really shouldn't.
This is an easy fix too, because to appeal to teams that would be having the worst record, you can actually give them their draft pick at whatever the record's going to be too, instead of all the playoff teams afterwards too. There's an easy fix to this. I think you absolutely can make this rule. This could be overnight.
Yeah. Bengals had a wild one, not unlike us. Bo Nix threw a crazy pass on a 4th and 1 to tie that game. And then the Bengals won in overtime, not unlike us. They're alive barely because actually, not only do they need the Broncos to lose again and they need to win, they need Miami to lose too.
Yeah,
so, the nightmare of them getting into the playoffs is very unrealistic, actually. So, this is, you dig yourself a hole, it's hard to get out of it. That's all.
My main takeaway they played Saturday. My main takeaway on Saturday was, man, T. Higgins would look good in the burgundy and gold with the game that he had on Saturday.
God, are we paying him $30 million a year? That's a good question. Yeah.
They need a wide receiver too, very badly. They'd be 1A and 1B with him and Terry. I'm just saying.
Would you like to give us Jamar Chase? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Do they not want to pay him?
Signed him either.
They might not want to pay him. I mean, they're the Bengals. So I don't know. Maybe not.
Chargers kill the Patriots. I'm now starting to call this the Harbaugh hex. The Bears, he wanted to interview with the Bears. They wouldn't interview him. Good job. The Patriots also, by the way, had a coaching opening.
Yep. Yeah. True.
Everyone who ignored this guy is looking really stupid right now. Really stupid. Because the Chargers, not unlike Washington, don't look at that roster and go, no one looks at that roster and goes, oh, well, that's championship roster. But here they are in the playoffs in a division that they had no chance of winning in the first place because of who's in it with them. And they're in the playoffs and they're dangerous. And they're probably going to play Houston and they're probably going to beat them in the first round. Watch.
No, I agree. And I also think this past Chargers game against the Patriots have had some bad losses this year, but I've seen enough of Drake May, kind of the same, not the same as Penix last night, but I've seen enough of Drake May to go, all right, that guy's good enough to be your franchise quarterback. Yeah. Especially off of a guy that everyone said, oh, he's going to need some seasoning for a while. Half a season of seasoning, pretty good on my end. I think they need to do what the Bears didn't do and make a move to an offensive coach at the end of this year to make sure that Drake May ends up being as good as he can be next season. And so, yeah, to your point, though, these teams that didn't talk to Harbaugh, big mistake. I understand why they didn't talk to him, but you had to at least have a conversation if you were trying to look for a spark for your team.
100%. All right, be right back. Bram wants to show his ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Lights are going up, snow is falling down. There's a feeling of goodwill around town. It could only mean one thing. McRib is here. People throwing parties, ugly sweaters everywhere. Stockings hung up by the chimney with care. It could only mean one thing. McRib is here.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time. When you're on the go and it's time to refresh your energy, grab an ice-cold Celsius Arctic Vibe, where 0 sugar, 7 essential vitamins, and proven ingredients meet the pure refreshment of frozen berry. Unlike traditional energy drinks, each sip of Celsius is a perfect balance of flavor and function. So whether you're hitting the gym, the office, or your next adventure, grab an Arctic Vibe at your local retailer or visit Celsius.com to learn more.
Screwball peanut butter whiskey? Why the hell not? A little salty, a little sweet, a little savory, and always smooth. Screwball, the original peanut butter whiskey that's unexpectedly delicious. Visit screwballwhiskey.com to learn more. That's Screwball with a K. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023 Screwball Spirits, LLC, New York, New York.
All right, welcome back. Good job, Giants. Drew Lock and the Giants beat the Colts.
Drew Lock,
He
my
threw for
guy.
like 800 yards and 58 touchdowns.
He had one of the top 10 quarterback performances ever yesterday. Ever.
The Indy takedown by Pat McAfee's amazing. You go read what he posted about them. Because he's like, you guys suck. It was really amazing. And the Giants just blew the number 1 overall pick. So Malik Neighbors, love to get your thoughts on that. Just because last week you were throwing the football with Shedeur Sanders. Now, I doubt you get him.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Not only that, we were robbed of the chance of the Eagles blowing that game to kill that. Schefter said it again yesterday before all of the games went off. Oh, if the Giants lose again today, the Eagles could throw that game. I couldn't believe he said it for a second week in a row.
I can't believe he hasn't gotten a call from Goodell going, don't say that on the airwaves.
That's what I'm getting at too. And once again, you and I know this. Schefter doesn't just say things to say things. Somebody's saying that to him from the organization. I don't know who, and I don't know how high or low the person is. But the fact that he threw that out there for a second week, I was like, dude, like I can't believe you're actually throwing it out there like that. But yeah, of course, I also felt this way too. I don't know how you did. When Shedeur posted the picture of his locker and there were the red and blue cleats that were Giants cleats, and he didn't wear them in the game. I know people were like, people were like, oh, he's not wearing them. That's fake. No, you can have cleats in your locker. You just don't have to wear them because they're not team colors. The second he did that, I went, oh, dude, you're going to screw this up so badly for everybody. And look what happened. The Giants end up winning and they fall out of the first pick.
The Raiders also blow the chance to get the number 1 overall pick. But Antonio Pierce is like, I don't care. And I honestly believe him. He's like, don't care. I'm here to win. I don't care.
100%.
Bills beat Netflix star and his teammates. And now the debate's on MVP, Josh Allen or Lamar. Good luck picking one. They both deserve it. So,
did you see the little exchange where Rodgers got pulled? Did you happen to see that? Where he was just like, I asked him if they want to put Tyrod Taylor in, and then they threw a screen for a touchdown. So there it was. And I was like, man, you are just the worst at this point. The
worst. Yep. Let's see. Finn's Browns was boring.
Yep.
Titans in the mix for the top pick now. So that's where we are with all of that. One quick thing before we go and back to our game, because I meant to mention this earlier. Falcons. Guys, both halves.
Right.
Not the last one.
Yep.
Both halves. They took all 3 of their timeouts into the locker room with them at the end of the first half, which made no sense and honestly prevented them from having a couple of extra plays to potentially score a touchdown. They ended up kicking a field goal. They could have potentially scored a touchdown. It doesn't mean they would have, but I don't know why they didn't use their timeouts. And then at the end of the game, when the play of the game, honestly, is the catch on the sideline where he's kept in bounds and they don't use a timeout and the clock's running with 30 seconds to go. By the time they get something off, we're down to 12 seconds, which left them one play. They luckily got a call on it, but they were bailed out on a call. They mismanaged the clock badly. And in either situation, and specifically at the end, they should have won. And I know it's like, it's going to get lost under the shuffle of all the things that happened, but it wasn't Bears bad, but it was pretty bad.
It was egregious. It was egregious either way. this is one of those situations too. If I'm Arthur Blank, because we've seen this before, you're getting him a time management coach, manager, helper, whatever you want to call it, because we've also seen this. For some reason, guys who are blatantly that bad at it never improve.
No.
So if I'm Arthur Blank, I'm giving him a tap on the shoulder. Hey, you've had a great first year with us, or a good first year. Maybe it's not going to end the way we wanted it to, but we got this guy Penix. Tap on the shoulder of, I'm getting you someone to manage the clock here because you can't do it. That's what I would do here.
Yes, it was really poor. The one at the end, when he was stopped in bounds, they should have called immediately one of the two timeouts.
It too. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And they didn't. And they ended up, fortunately, kicking a 56-yard field goal. But if they saved themselves 2 more plays, maybe it's a 40-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They completely, utterly mismanaged that last night. And thankfully, they did it in the first half too. I was perplexed in the first half when they didn't use any of their timeouts when the clock was running and just seemed to settle for a field goal. And Logan piped up and he goes, they don't want to give Daniels the ball back. And I go, with what, 8 seconds left? What are they scared of at that point? Use your timeouts and try to score a touchdown. What are you doing?
Yeah, the only thing I could was I had the same thought process as Logan there, but even I was going, at some point you have to run your offense. You have to run the plays.
You have to try to score.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get it either. All right, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.